What's going on, guys? Kellan, Reck here. I'm out here hiking the woods of Ashburnham, Mass with my buddy Zachy. He's cruising up ahead. We're gonna do a little bit of an easier tutorial today. Nothing too tricky, but I think you might like it. It might be helpful for you. And it's gonna be all about how to get a nice blurry background in your portraits and in your videos. And I've talked about this a little bit in previous videos. It's all about adjusting your aperture, getting a nice open aperture so that you can have that nice fall off, that nice bokeh in the background. So we're gonna go over it here. We'll do a few examples with the leaves, nice backgrounds, and we'll get some nice cinematic sequences and drone shots in here to spice it up. So stick around. All right, so we're gonna set up right here. I'm gonna get a quick photo of Zach just looking off, and we're gonna do one with an opened up aperture and one with a closed down aperture. Now I'm gonna put them on the screen here. You can see them side by side. You see that when we have a closed down aperture, in this case f13, the background is not nicely out of focus. It kind of looks, you know, just awkwardly there. Everything looks funky. And with these autumn leaves, there's so much color that we want them to pop and be out of focus and look really nice. So when we open it up to f2.8, which with this Canon 16-35 lens is the most open we can get it, we get that nice bokeh, that nice out of focus. The leaves sort of turn into this ball of blurred color and look really nice. And you can see that difference here. So all you gotta do is just open up your aperture, and you can adjust everything else to get the same exposure by playing with your ISO, by playing with your shutter speed. So when I'm shooting at f13, we've got an ISO that's about 500-600. Our shutter speed is a little bit slower so that we can get more light is let in. But when we open up our aperture to f2.8, we have a faster shutter speed to account for more light coming into the sensor. Our ISO is a little bit lower, about 100, and we get those beautiful backgrounds. So you can see, we'll get a few more portraits along the way so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so in this example, we'll talk a little bit about putting something in the foreground. Now you wanna leave your aperture opened up, but to get a nice shot of Zach here on this pathway, we're gonna add something to the foreground. I've talked about this again in other videos. With that low opened up aperture, you can have a nice blurred foreground. So here's a shot with nothing in the foreground. Now we can add something. So I've got this tree here with all these beautiful leaves. All I have to do is sort of just put it right in front of my camera and then create just this nice outline around Zach. You get this blurred color in front of him and him in the background. So here's the shot with an element in the foreground. And you can see these side by side. Makes a huge difference, and all you have to do is just find something. You could even take a few leaves off the ground and toss them in the air and let them fall in the foreground nicely out of focus. You get a really cool element to add to your shot. Jumping over to the iPhone so you can see my screen as I film this. Sometimes what's nice to do when you're out in a place where you might want to get a portrait is to kick your phone, take your camera and bring it out of focus. Can you see that? So you have your phone out of focus, or your camera out of focus. You can see what the background looks like. And I'm just gonna record here so you can see it on the camera. And you can start to see what your background might look like when you put your subject in front of it. You can say, okay, that's what the blurred out background's gonna be. When it's in focus, it's a little bit hard to tell how your background might look when you're recording or taking a photo of your subject. So if you kick it out of focus and preview it on your screen, you'll say, okay, these colors are a nice background. Now if I put my subject in there, that's what the background's gonna look like. Let me get my hand in focus here. You can see what the background might look like. You get nice colors there, whereas maybe this tree doesn't look so good. All right, so we made it to this pretty awesome lookout here. Beautiful view of some mountains and a lake, and the foliage is pretty unreal. So we'll show a few more portraits so you can see the difference between having a nice blurred background and having that closed down aperture where the background just isn't focused, just doesn't look quite as cinematic or quite as professional. So obviously we've been talking photography here, but the same thing is true when you're shooting video. If you want to get a nice, beautiful cinematic video shot of a person, it's the same thing. We want to open up that aperture. Again, a very, very basic thing to get these cinematic shots, but I'll show you some examples here of shots with an opened up aperture versus the same shots with a closed down aperture where the background's not nice and blurry. Bringing the drone in right now, which is always a fun operation, but you can see we're on a very small little outlet here, and we're going to try to bring this bad boy in without doing too much damage, so let's see what can be done. Here she comes. Let me brighten this up so we can see the footage from the drone if we want to cut to it. We'll get a double angle look here, and we're coming in. Big moment, folks. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just wanted to touch on the importance of opening up that aperture, getting that cinematic look in your videos, that professional look in your photos, kind of like that portrait mode look on your iPhone. You can remember to use your ISO and your shutter speed to compensate for the light that you're gonna get. You can use an ND filter on your lens if it's during the day as well. We'll get into that in other videos. But again, just a simple touch, opening up your aperture can make the world of a difference in your photos and videos. Go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed, write a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you're into this content. We'll be back in the next one.